My name is Irina Budanska. I'm from Kyiv, Ukraine. I live in Kyiv, Ukraine. And for more than 20 years, we have a cultural center in Kyiv, Ukrainian Cultural Center. This is a family foundation. Um, uh, my husband and I, we have supported Ukraine for more than 20 years. Because we understand the treasure of culture, the influence of the culture, and that's what we do. For this more than 20 years, we organize thousands of events, exhibitions and concerts and theater performances and cinema screenings. And we have the biggest project, the project we are proud about. It's a big festival. It's a big festival. The name of this festival, Bouquet Kyiv stage, and we hold it every year in summer, in August, in Kyiv, in a very special place, in San Sofia, and we organize these festivals during wartime, and I will remember for the whole of my life the first festival during the wartime. It was 2022. And from the beginning of full-scale invasion in my country, we organized a lot of events abroad, because culture can tell about people, about Ukrainians, about war, about experience we are having during these 3 years, better than news, better than politics, better than representatives of parliament. I'm sure of it, because it goes from people. It's our emotions, it's our feelings, and artists can do it better than anyone else. And we were lucky to meet, I don't know, wonderful partners in London. It's Artshield Foundation. It's amazing. These people, the founders of this company, it's Edward Eckrout and Wesley Swolf. One of them is British-French guy, the other is a Belgian guy, but we joke that maybe in their previous life they were Ukrainians, because they're so devoted to our country. They are devoted to artists, Ukrainian artists, and I was really happy to meet such a people. We share the same ideas, we share the same values, and we organized festival here in London, and we do seasons. The name of our festival here in London, Kyiv Art Sessions, in the Old Sessions House. And today we opened the third season, the winter season of our festival. And this season is very special one, because it has a big exhibition. We collected all artworks we presented in our previous season, and we do a charity exhibition sale. And I can explain why have we decided to do this, because it's winter, it's cold time, and I am sure that we are surviving in Ukraine the most difficult times now, for many reasons, and one of them, this is winter. And as you know, every other day we have rocket attacks, we have bomb attacks, we have a lot of destruction of our infrastructure, of civil lives, of houses and kindergartens and hospitals and whatever. And the main idea was to hit people who need this, to hit people who live in broken houses, to hit our soldiers who spend their nights in trenches. Was the main idea of this exhibition and sale. And I could say that all the artists we present in our exhibition, it's around 20 different artists, from masters, from genius, and the artists our country is proud to very young, talented artists. And I can say we love all of them. We are proud all of them, and which is very important, 90% of the artworks we present at our exhibition, they were created during the last 3 years, during war time. So you can read these artworks what we feel. You can feel the nature of Ukrainians. You can see the resilience of our people. It says a lot. And apart from the exhibition, now we are speaking and we have a wonderful concert of Ukrainian music. And I could say that the world now just discovering Ukrainian music, and I can say the same about us Ukrainians, because for many years Ukrainian music has been suppressed by Russia as any other fields of our life. And speaking about the music, it's an universal music. And music says about the nature of nation, the character, and it can says a lot. And speaking about Ukrainian music, it's always very emotional and very human. And we have one genius composer, Valentin Silvestrov, who's a big friend of our center. And once he said, the real music is that where a human being is. And all our project, we are trying to organize, to make a program this way that human being is here. Humanity is the first. We started this season with a wide geography in Britain. We organized our festival not only in London, which has become a tradition already, but also in Oxford and in Cambridge at universities. And we organized events, a few events in Oxford, then in Cambridge, and in London, in a very special place. This is amazing building of the 17th century, and it used to be here in this building a court. And there is a legend about this building that Charles Dickens walked there, and he wrote Oliver Twist just here. And it's very symbolical that there was a court, because what are we doing with the culture? We are trying to get a justice, because Ukrainian culture exists, and it has existed for centuries. And this is a sort of justice to show ourselves and to show the world that it's a great treasure. It's not only Ukrainian treasure, but a part of the world culture.
Yes, I am David Sharashidze. I am artist. I'm from Georgia, but I lived in Kiev before war, and now I live in here near Oxford with my family. And today is very nice day for help to Ukrainian people, and for me this is very nice day. I can maybe my art help for Ukrainian people, and this here is my painter and graphics and ceramics, and we will looking maybe this will be interesting day. Thank you.
I am Elena Ryzhych. I'm painter, installator. I'm from the dynasty of famous Ukrainian artists, academics Victor Ryzhych and Galina Neledva, my father and mother. We were a very happy family. And, I'm in art from 6 months, all my life. I'm happy to be in London now. I had before I had 10 exhibitions in Italy, 4 in France, and this third exhibition in London in this festival. This is my works in 11 museums, in 15 countries, in collections. I have 12 awards. So, my biography, and also I'm working in cultural diplomacy of Ukraine. This painting, this painting have special history because it's awarded by all Ukrainian Triennale of Painting. It's the best painting in Ukraine during 3 years. So it is, and it is in Encyclopedia of Honor of Nation. So this painting is special in my art history, Venice, and I had 3 exhibitions in Venice. Also I have second one painting here. It is a medieval square. I was inspired by medieval vitrages, glass paintings in cathedrals or in Europe. And this deep color with this inner shining. The main idea of this painting. This is fast snow in autumn. Sometimes snow come in autumn, so it is quite warm weather, but with fast snow. It's very light painting alla prima. I'm happy to take part in this art festival of the best selected Ukrainian art, multidisciplinary, all kinds of art, because Irina Budanska and Evgeny Utkin, Master Klass, they are the best mecenates in Ukraine, and the best persons. They inspired, they have like a spiritual gravitation around them. All talented people like feel like magnetism from them, and also I appreciate the collaboration with Art Shield and Subjective. They're very good partners of our mecenatus. So I believe that this festival will have long continue next year also. So please God save Ukraine. Is all the band now.
Hello, my name is Ganna and I'm Ukrainian artist. I am showing here the series of my works which called Horizons. And this series started maybe 20 years ago, and I was very much interested with the horizon line and between sky and earth. And I was very much interested to show a development of space which humans are creating and to see it from different perspectives. And of course, with full-scale tour, I would say my Horizons series, Ukrainian Horizons, changed very much because I'm you know that we are all going through some transformation, and this transformation influencing our creativity. It doesn't matter if we want this or not, so this is way how it works. And I started to do a new series, Light Through the Darkness, and this is blackout pictures, which is I can show this one, for example, this black one, and another one black one. In this picture I show how our capital Kyiv looking without light, because we were cut off the light. This was blackout for a long time, and but I always try to see some light and something which gives hope. I always give some small accent of something very bright, like I do here, but here it's like we are brave and we will manage, and we can stand, and we will go through and we come to the light days of our history. And in this, and the other painting is also a part of Kyiv, a very famous one, this Andreevskaya church, which is showing a very typical place for Kyiv. It's a very typical sightseeing place, but it's also now dark, and you can only see the sunlight from the cars, which was our reality that days. So, and now things good, it's already changed, but we are still in very hard war, and this dark time still with us, but we hope that this light in the end of tunnel, we will have this light. And for example, this painting is also very typical street, which is going to the west of Kyiv, which is now very alive because very many people came back. But this was, I was always from childhood, I was watching the street, and I loved it so much because it goes to horizon, it goes like some hope to sun, to sunset. But when the war started, this was a way where all the people went out from Ukraine, but it's also was a way where all the people, many people came back, and I hope that soon a lot of people will come back again to Ukraine. So, and this is how I'm showing two different sides of horizons of Ukraine. So in the dark time, and with some light and with some hope.
This is not just a painting, please pay attention. It's a symbol of strength, hope and resilience. Created in March 2020 during the first weeks of full-scale invasion, this was the first piece of Dubovik completed under the shadow of war. So actually, Alexander refused an evacuation, and he walked from his home in Kiev using only paper and marker. Actually, that's all what he has for that moment, to create a piece that embodied the unshakable courage of Ukraine. Actually, tonight we have three masterpieces from Alexander Dubovik, these two, and of course the pearl of tonight's auction. But we start from Glory to Ukraine. And we start, it's very symbolic, I believe, for such a legendary piece. Only 1,000 pounds, and the first step is 200 pounds.
Dubovik is actually all about life, unity, love, and he has this signature symbol of bouquet, which is basically like a protest against Malevich Black Square. These two works are quite different, so usually he paints more in this suprematism and the late Cubism style. Here, this is like sheer energy and very expressive two works. They are in a completely different medium. He did them right when the full-scale invasion started. So yes, I think they are very, very special. And this is, of course, like Dubovik is definitely like museum artist by now for sure. So it's quite a rare occasion to buy one of these two.
Yeah, so we almost introduced three masterpieces, but let's start, as I said, from the first one, Glory to Ukraine. Actually, for these both paintings, we have a first step. We start bidding with 1,000 pounds and only 200 pounds one step. So if you are interested to put into your private collection or help to these two vital initiatives I mentioned before, please, you can write. So, Glory to Ukraine by Alexander Dubovik. I saw you raise your hand. Thank you so much.
And you will be, of course, welcome in his studio in Kiev.
Yes.
So he's
So
very
1,000 pounds for this masterpiece with such a name, Glory to Ukraine. I think it's very symbolic. And please, I need at least one more step. 1,200 pounds. Thank you so much. By the way, you did a great photo. So, thank you. 1,200 pounds so far. Give me more, please. Just to remind you that we raise this money for vital initiatives. 1,200 pounds once. 1,200 pounds twice. Are you from where?
I'm from Bangladesh.
Wow, okay. Have you ever heard before about Alexander Dubovik?
I looked into it. I know cat for the subject, so yes.
So now you are bidding because of your big heart or because you are interested
I'm
in collectors?
I'm
Okay,
interested
so looks
in
like you're the most one who's interested here. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we open our auction and solve at least? Yes? But you have to prepare your applause. So 1,200 pounds, and this Glory to Ukraine painting goes to, what's your name?
Well, I'm Edward Accrued. I'm Wesley Swartz. And we have a foundation called Art Shield, which mission is to amplify the voice of endangered artists, and we've been working with Ukraine for quite a while. So our mission is to identify top talent in different places. Either they suffer from economic hardship, from political repression, from censorship, from war. We identify top artists with strong aesthetics, strong concepts, and then we amplify their voices by showcasing their work, whether it's in London or in the US. And then 50% of the money goes to the artist, 25% goes to our impact. Right now our impact is Insulate Ukraine and the mobile hospital. And then 25% goes to the running costs of the organization.
So this is the third time we organize here in the Old Sessions House in partnership with Master Klass, who you've interviewed before. It's a beautiful event. We're very happy with the turnout, and that people are not only being inspired by art but also buying it, and yeah, it's important for us what we're doing here, but not only for us. It's very important.
Every time, firstly, in the first stage of Russian invasion, we thought that Russians can have a regret because their ruler Putin started such an invasion, but after some short meetings, some interviews, I realized that their mindset is completely different, and now I'm working on my book, about non-fiction book, about why they're feeling like that, and why they're deciding to go to Ukrainian territory, and why they're ready to kill and to die on Ukrainian territory. And it's a very interesting thing that every time we are thinking about money as a first thing for them to do something, some war crimes, for example. But yes, the their intention is much deeper. So I'm trying to talk with a lot of journalists. I've made already more than 30 visits to places of detention with some foreign journalists, helping them to show to outer world how it looks like, how we treating them, because Ukraine is a European state. We signed the Third Geneva Convention for treating prisoners of war, and we want to show to outer world that we are treating them well. So they have enough food, they have enough medical care, they have possibility to have connection with their relatives in Russia. But unlike Ukrainians in Russian territory, and we supporting the ICRC organization, and where we are very transparent, and we allowing them to the ICRC representatives to visit places of detention in Ukraine, and these visits can last for a week, for example. We have nothing like that in Russia. ICRC can't visit the Russian places of detention, and after prisoner swap, we can see that Ukrainians are coming with torture signs, with significant decreasing of their weight, and they experience war crimes, real war crimes there. So the situation is not equal, and of course we are trying to do our best to take these people back from Russian captivity as soon as it's possible.
I'm going to jump on the subject of torture. Do you see torture that the Russians are doing, is it for information extraction or is it for form of punishment? And what types of torture do you witness on prisoners of war that are returning to Ukraine?
The general amount of tortures is, I would say, very scary word, but it's just for fun, for some sadistic purposes. They not need any information because in case a soldier or officer very long time in captivity, so it means that he knows a very small amount of information and this information is outdated. But, for example, in a very northern part of Russia, where winter is very cold, prisoners is not allowed to cover themselves with a blanket far than the waist. So they should experience cold. They're not allowed to cover all their body. And of course, and for example, they have a very limited amount of time to have their lunch. Just 3 minutes for lunch, 2 minutes for breakfast, and 2 minutes for dinner. And it's not just to eat this food, but also they should take off their dishes to the special point. And the dishes are very hot, so they should choose whether their mouths will be or they will remain hungry. So it's kind of tortures, not necessary tortures, and of course we can't say about tortures as about something necessary. But of course, former prisoners of war, our soldiers with experience of tortures and being in Russian captivity, they said, we don't know why these people hate us so much. It's of course out of any orders. These people who keep them in very bad Russian places of detention, we know about more than 180 places of detention in Russia and temporarily occupied territories. And in every such place, people who are keeping them, they trying to do the worst things. And of course, this is a part of my work. I'm trying to understand why they're doing that. What's the deep roots of such behavior? And of course, I'm trying to investigate their education, the Russian history, of course, because Russia has very scary history in Stalin's period and even Tsarist time. They have their so-called prisoners' culture. And also, I'm introducing another kind of Russian culture. It's culture of death. So why people, when I asked one Russian who was in Ukrainian captivity for a very long time, because nobody cares from the Russian side about him, and I asked him, he's 52 years old, and asked him why he decided, because he has a daughter, he has a flat in Russia, not very big, but quite a big city, but he answered, well, I'm so old, yes, I have a daughter, and I have my wife and my apartment, but, it's time to die. 52. I'm so old. And in reality, when you met them, the majority of Russian prisoners are looking much older. So sometimes journalists asking me, why you are capturing so old Russian soldiers? I say, no, they're not old. They just looking in 10 years older because they have no medical care, they have no money. The Russian President Putin, ruler Putin, is selling a lot of oil and gas, and he's a very rich person. But these people in Russia are very poor, and they can't have enough care. They have very bad teeth, and a guy who has 30 years old, he can look like 45 or 50 years old. And of course, it's not, and of course, during my visits, hundreds and hundreds Russian prisoners of war they know me. So the hundreds of Russians know me as a person who are visiting them, and I wouldn't say that it's very good connection. As I already said, I can't write it down on LinkedIn for example. So it's very, very touching experience, and sometimes I need to wash my hands. I want to wash my hands after such interviews, because their mindset are very different, and they are willing to kill Ukrainians without any regret.
We saw, during the Soviet Union, that there's something in the culture that could resemble something that's quite sadistic, in the way soldiers are hazed during military service, in the way orphans were treated in orphanages. So what you're describing is institutional torture, but also a form of incompetence where lower soldiers are left to do whatever they want to do with prisoners of war. You know this culture quite well. You grew up during the Soviet Union. Were you still surprised when you saw the worst case of prisoners' torture? Because, as you said, it is directed to Ukrainians, but it is something that they would direct to most of the prisoners of war throughout the history.
Yeah, you're right, because these tortures are also towards Russians too, in Russian captivity. But our history after the Soviet Union, Ukrainian society developed completely different than Russian society. So we are, at the moment, the points we are being on the mental map are very far from each other. And on the first stage of Russian invasion, we even tried to reach some Russian citizens by calls, in case we have relatives in Russia, so we called them and said, well, you invaded us, we are dying, please stop your president, do something. And they said, don't worry, you just should be patient, some explosions and all will be over. And and during, for example, during the Second Chechen War, Russia invaded Chechnya, and during this war, a lot of Russian moms and wives went to Russian prisoners of war and take them back. And now we have no such a behavior, because they don't want to go to Ukraine to meet with their loved ones. And it's completely different, and it's very difficult to believe what propaganda can do in 10 years, in 20 years. So it's another kind of investigation. How the propaganda and the totalitarian power can dehumanize the society.
That's interesting. How do they view Ukrainians? Because when you look at the Chechen War or the war in Afghanistan, there was a dehumanizing aspect of seeing those nations as inferior. Ukrainians in the subconscious of Russians have always been seen as more sophisticated, and there was always a sense of envy. A lot of the Holodomor and the decolonization was this idea that there was those people that were making more money, that were more sophisticated, and there was this need of punishing them for it. Do you feel that they see Ukrainian as inferior, or do they see him as betraying what they are? Because I've never seen, it's sad to say, there's no one even in the opposition in Russia that doesn't have the belief that Ukraine is their domain, and it does belong to them, and it should be theirs. But that's the...
It's a very complicated question. I'll try to answer in short. Of course, when Putin, before the invasion, full-scale invasion, Putin wrote an article. He said that Ukrainians are the same as Russians. And of course, he's trying to prove that somehow. Of course, we are different, and of course, we should understand Russia deeply, because in case I'm taking a list of Russian prisoners of war, and the majority of them, like 70%, are not Russian nationality. They are like Burats, Tatars, even Kazakhs, a lot of nationalities, territories occupied by Russian Empire from different periods, and Russia is still an empire. It looks like an average state, but we should understand that a Russian way of capturing other territories is to capture all these people and putting them into propaganda, media propaganda. And in case you ask this guy with Buryat nationality, who is he will answer, I'm Russian. So, of course, for me it's a very important question to know whether we are far from Russian as humans, and of course we are the same. And everyone, of course, they are the same people, but with a story of a lot of things was made for this Putin rule since 2000. So it's 25 years of Putin rule and Putin's propaganda. And of course it takes a lot of time for these people to be back, to be the same as like others. Because it's very, it's very difficult to answer this question in such a short time. But we should all understand Russia better. We should all understand Russia as to efficiently counter Russia, because it's very important to all of us. And we understood that we are very neighbor of Russia, and we, of course, I think we know a lot of Russia, but in fact, when I'm talking with Russian prisoners of war, I understood that we know nothing. So it's very important to organize this investigation and know whether it's possible.
Let me ask you a little bit more of a personal question. You processing those Russian prisoners that are coming, how long does it take for them to be sincere, to tell you the truth? And was there a moment where you felt hatred towards them? And was there a moment where you felt empathy towards them?
I never, first of all, Russians know nothing. Russian soldiers know nothing, because when I asked some Russians and some foreign mercenaries, I'm not a part of some first conversations with them, but in case we are asking them about what you aim here, and they said, we know nothing, we just told, our commander said, like, go, go, go. They should go forward with no aims, just go forward. And
do they know they're in Ukraine?
Yeah, in Ukraine, and nobody can, in case you can stop them, so they are over, and in case you can't stop them, so they will go forward through Ukraine, through Poland, through Germany, till the end, in case somebody will be able to stop them. So in any case, Russians, of course, very difficult. Well, okay, so maybe I'll. First of all, the Russians are captured on the very long front line, so in different places. And after that, they were passed to big Ukrainian cities, and then passed to special camps for prisoners of war. And then in these camps, they are just living till the end of the war, or till the prisoner swap. In this case, they are just living there. We preserve their health, their dignity, so on, so on. But in general, they are behaving like very passive people. So I'm just a small cog, they said. I was nothing. I'm a very small guy to understand somebody. I'm not interested in politics. I'm like, they are like, you know, some animals who have no some political life. I mean, not like.
I understand.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
just in time the way they think.
Yeah. So it's very strange, and of course we was in Soviet Union. I remember my childhood in Soviet Union, and it was the same. It was very difficult. I was very proud that I lived in Soviet Union, and I know that very bad America wants to throw a nuclear bomb to us, to very good Soviet Union. So they are living like that, and for them it's very just average way of life. Yeah.
What do they generally expect when they are taken prisoners? Because they are told that they will be executed. They are told that they will not be taken prisoners most of the time, correct?
Excuse me, because you answered the question, and I recall the name of this. They like jelly. Jelly.
Wow.
Now,
I understand.
Yeah. So now you can.
Yeah. Sorry. I think most Russian recruits are told that they cannot surrender. That if they do surrender, they will be executed by the Ukrainian army. They're not expecting that they will be treated according to the Geneva Convention. First of all, are they surprised when that happens? And do you have sometimes problems with your own men that do feel a lot of hatred and want to take it out on the prisoners?
You know, that's a very painful point, of course, for our society, because, of course, Russian propaganda says that you should never surrender because Ukrainians will kill you, so it would be good you kill yourself. And we have a lot of proofs from drones when Russians are killing themselves in case they are injured or in some vulnerable position. The same for the North Korean soldiers. But when they are already in Ukraine's places of detention, of course it's a surprise for them. And I asked, for example, two Wagner group prisoners. They were former prisoners in Russia, and they said, "Well, it's a very great adventure for us. It's like trip abroad. Like we never been abroad because we are prisoners since 14 years old. So for us, it's adventure." And of course, Ukrainians are very not happy to have such people and to spend money for them. And of course, because especially when we know the conditions in Russian places of detention, very, very scary conditions, and I even can't say how scary it is. So, and of course, a lot of Ukrainians don't want them to be in such good conditions, but the main purpose of keeping them in such conditions is, Russians, is to exchange them, to preserve their health, and then exchange them to Ukrainians in Russian captivity. They are, of course, to capture each Russian soldier on the front line and pass them through Ukraine, treat them well. It's very unique task, and it's a lot of people from Ukrainian armed forces are involved in such a process. And every prisoner of war from Russia is very prizeful for us. And of course, we should treat them well. And of course, we are showing the outer world that we're different than Russia. And this because this is the reason why we have such a war. That Russia don't want their people to live good conditions. They even don't want to exchange Russians from Ukrainian captivity. But Ukraine treat them well, and Ukraine, of course, creating better and better conditions, because every time I'm visiting the prisoners camp, and the conditions are better and better. And that's not because we love Russians. That's because we can't live another way, because we are other, and because we are trying to protect this difference and this war because of this difference.
Is this something you have to keep on saying to your men? And is it challenging sometimes for them to understand that?
Yeah, it's a very challenging task, and of course, every time we are trying to explain why we are doing like that. But of course, a lot of people, a lot of families understood that in case we will have such a leverage for our negotiations with Russia, in such case, their loved ones will be back.
How many prisoners have been exchanged so far?
At the moment, almost 4,000.
And what is the rate usually that Russia accepts? Is it 1-to-1?
It's a comparable amount, but every prisoner swap is unique, and sometimes it's a bit more, sometimes it's less. But in general, it's a comparable amount. But it was there were exceptions. When we exchanged pro-Russian politician Victor-Manuel to more than 150 Ukrainians. It was very good for us.
And what do they do with that guy when he goes back?
I guess he's a Putin's friend, so I guess he's feeling okay in Russia.
How many prisoners does Ukraine have right now in Ukraine, and how many Ukrainian prisoners in Russia?
We never share this information, but we have enough Russians to continue our negotiations.
And Russians are, you said they're not really interested in the prisoners exchange. It's always like a bit of a challenge. Do you select the prisoners that you exchange? Like you were mentioning, you take prisoners that have a certain value to Russia?
In any case, we never select. Russians not very interested in their citizens in Ukrainian captivity. For example, we have one guy who is still in detention. He was captured on the 5th day after the full-scale invasion. He's still in captivity because Russia don't want him back, and we don't know why. And of course, we don't know keep him too. But okay, we should do that until Russia want him back. But of course, they're not very interested in their citizens, in their soldiers and officers. And in other case, we are trying to, for example, we had prisoners, not a swap, but repatriation, because we had 25 heavily injured Russians, and we provided negotiations during a very long period of time, and just this month, January now, in January they agreed to take them back, these 25 persons heavily injured. And when I'm visiting the prisoners camp, dozens of heavily injured Russians are surrounding me and asking why we are still here and we want to go home while you are not exchanging us, repatriating us. And I'm answering that, guys, we don't need you at all. We are happy and ready to exchange you or repatriate you immediately. But the problem is Russian side don't want you back. And of course it's a very huge problem, because a lot of Ukrainians, heavily injured Ukrainians, are on the other side. And of course we have a lot of work.
Out of all the cases of Russian prisoners you've seen, was there one case in particular that caught your attention, or that you, I don't want to use the word necessarily sympathize, but that you almost connected with that person?
Yeah. You know, majority of Russians have no regret. Just in case journalists asking them what's your intention to do in case you can go back in time and do something else, and they said, well, I would like to be not an artillery guy, but I would like to go to drones operator. And one case was the exceptional case. It was very young guy, about 22 years old, and he was a Wagner Group member, and he was former prisoner from Russia. And in Wagner Group they had, because it's already disappeared, they have special bracelets for very ill persons. In case this former prisoner has a tube, it's a red bracelet. In case he has an AIDS, so white bracelet. And this very young guy had two bracelets, red one and a white one.
So he had a tumor and AIDS?
Yeah. And he was the only person I heard any regret. He said, like, I'm so, excuse us Russians, because it's so sad we invited you, and well, it wasn't a good idea at all. I don't know whether it was from his heart. I don't know that, but I remember him.
Were you faced with prisoners that had committed war crimes, with whom you had the proof, and were you able to discuss those crimes with them?
You know, I never discussed such a thing because I didn't want to do that. It's very touching to me. But of course, I've seen these guys who were sentenced for war crimes in Ukraine, and the fate of one of these guys were interesting because he was sentenced firstly for the killing civilians. He killed civilians. He was sentenced for 15 years, but he was exchanged finally to Russia, back to Russia, and after that he joined Russian army again, and you know that and he finally was captured the second time, and it was exceptional case because on my calculation, just one person among 1,000 can be captured as a prisoner of war. And this guy made it twice. And of course now he is imprisoned in Ukraine, but for the lifetime sentence. Because, you know, he made it second time.
How does he get only 15 years for killing civilians? How does he only get 15 years for killing civilians?
You know, it was like our courses, you know. Maybe he was participant of some group, maybe he was like other person who was nearby or something like that. So, but in any case, you know that my understanding of Russians is completely changed. Why they can do such things, why they are coming. They maybe have no very good conditions, maybe they have very bad education, maybe they are under propaganda, very toxic propaganda. And you know, I have a lot of human stories there, and I'm trying to write it finally.
I think there's an author called Romain Gary, and he said the greatest spiritual force in humanity is stupidity. I think it is true. In the end, do you think there's a greater evil or greater reason as to why they do all this, and in the end it's because they don't think that much?
Yeah, maybe, but in any case, they are quite, you know, I guess in case Russia will be under not under the totalitarian rulers, or they will be somehow crashed as an empire. So it will be very good for Russians as a nationality and for other nationalities in Russia, because they will not be so dangerous for outer world. And of course, I guess first of all, they need to have love, because they have no love from their families, from their government, from their society. This is a society without love. So I guess I wrote an essay in the beginning of Full-Scale Invasion, it was translated and published in Ukraine and Poland, and I have my publisher, and the name of this essay was "This is a war for love," because Russians have no love, and they are trying to invade other countries to grab other people's love, but they don't know what to do with this love. And it was because one case before the full-scale invasion, when one Russian soldier, I read it in Russian newspaper, a small Russian newspaper. It was a story when a Russian soldier grabbed the kids' pictures from the burnt Ukrainian tank. And the commander of this tank was killed, but these pictures was inside. And the Russian journalist asked this soldier, why you took these pictures to Russia with you? And he answered, well, you know, they are so bright, they are full of love.